around the clock, sports all the time. That's never going to work. That's ridiculous.
Just remember to have fun out there today. And if you lose, I'll kill you.
This is Talk Can Audio.
Seriously, this thing is going to be a cultural disaster.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome inside your Monday edition of the Talk In Audio podcast. Matt Robinson with you as always. Joined today, a guy working. He's taking a little time out of his work day to join us. I assume he's got his feet up on Tim McAuliffe's desk and eating whatever Ivanka brought for lunch that was left in the fridge. Hanging out at Sportsnet today. Kevin Michie, what's going on, man?
Greetings. Yes. Terrific lunch left by, it must have been Ivanka. It might have been Ken. I don't know. But yes, I'm just decided to tuck myself away on one of the floors inside the Rogers HQ. And I don't think anybody's going to show up because it's Sunday and there's a shitload of snow on the ground. So no one's coming around.
I think this is the first time we have recorded. We've had many a Sportsnet guest on, but I think this is the first time one of them has been present at Sportsnet. So whatever that's yes.
Wow, I'm very happy to have broken this proverbial cherry with you, Matthew. Thank you so much.
This is we're screwing over Rogers just a little bit. You're a bit of a time thief. Nothing compared to what I'm sure you already know happened 28 years ago today.
28 years ago today. Is it the 28-year anniversary? I was going to say, it's the screw job anniversary. I didn't even realize. My God.
How could you not, man?
I just watched Survivor Series 97 very recently.
As one does, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bret Hart got screwed. Pretty unhappy about that. Still not over it. I don't think he's...
Well, I mean, we'll know. No, Bret's definitely not over it.
But
did I ever tell you? Quick aside here about when the Canadian Walk of Fame. Did I ever tell you about this?
I think you mentioned being there with him. I'm not sure where you're going exactly, but take us there, man.
Yes. So whenever it was like 2 or 3 years ago, whenever he went to the Canadian Walk of Fame, his first wrestler to go in. Very, very. It was a cool moment for all the wrestling fans of Canada to see Bret Hart go into the Canada's Walk of Fame. And so Sportsnet, because we still had the WWE rights at the time, they said, why don't you go ahead and go down there and you can talk to Bret Hart? And who's going to say no to that? Yeah. So I said, hell yeah. So I head on down to wherever the hell it is, Wellington or John or something like Wellington and John, I think it's at. And interview Bret. Nice guy. I asked a question surrounding something like, do you have any regrets in your career? And he thought about it for a second. He goes, the biggest regret I have is getting in the ring with Bill Goldberg. Wish I never did that.
You're gonna say.
Just unprompted. Yeah. Unprompted. I love Bret. Bret is he's a hero in terms of like he can hold a grudge like no one else.
Yeah.
So when you say it's been 28 years, 28? Yeah, 28 years now since the Montreal screw job, he's definitely still thinking about it and how he got screwed.
What a bunch of idiots, imbeciles, stupid as it gets. Stupid, clueless idiot, a bunch of clueless nuts. Is there anybody here that's got any brains? Stupid, stupid, stupid every day, every night. So stupid. Just really stupid. The biggest cutthroat bunch of conniving, backstabbing idiots you've ever seen in your life. That is such bullshit. It's the work of an idiot. Pathetic, really stupid idiots. Are you an idiot? Lost idiot? He was the shits. You will always be seen as a complete failure. The term motherfuckers would have been crossing my mind pretty regular. Thanks for nothing. Go fuck yourselves.
I know you're at work, but I got to live the gimmick here, so I'm going with a beer.
Hell yeah.
This comes from the Bosch Kong Brewing Company up in Minden Hills, Ontario, near Haliburton. This is called the Black Rock. It is a dark ale. I think I had it on the show a week or so ago, and I may use the same explanation that I used then as for why. You and I are going to talk some Blue Jays right now, and if anything, my heart's feeling like a bit of a Black Rock right now, and that's all that's
very nice
left. So that's how we'll tie that together. Look, there's a few different things. Like I said, I want to talk some baseball with you, but I've been intrigued by, this Olympic story, and when it's too soon to start talking about rosters and whether they're gonna
never too soon.
We've been debating it since 2014, really. I'm curious. As we sit here right now on Sunday afternoon, Connor Bedard just took over the league scoring lead, 25 points in 16 games. Macklin Celebrini is in second. This is the first time in NHL history that two guys under the age of or 20 and under have led the league. This late into the season. I'm sort of curious, at what point to you does it become real? Does it ever become real? Like, is there any chance Canada's going to take a teenager and a 20-year-old, maybe just one, neither? Will we always default to, these older guys, they've played some big games before? I'm curious what you think your tolerance level will be and how different it might be from Hockey Canada's on how many young guys they might give some room to here.
It's such an interesting conversation because when you look even just based on name alone at Bedard and Celebrini, I can imagine that everyone could make their own argument and say, okay, well, I would leave Travis Konechny and Sam Bennett behind for those two.
Travis Konechny
just based
was exactly my name that I went for.
Yeah, I feel like he's the first guy out for everybody. Yeah. When you look at the four nations to what the Olympic roster could be, everyone says, take those guys out.
Yeah.
So Connor Bedard looks like a bit of a different player this season, doesn't he? Or is it just because the Blackhawks are overachieving right now? Because I certainly thought that the Hawks were just going to be a big pile of garbage. But they're playing certainly better than garbage, so good for them.
Better than garbage. That's certainly, I think, fair. They
something
are,
to strive for.
Yeah. I'm working on it, man. Look,
yes,
it's I think so. Like, I think this is what we thought he would look like right away, right? The hype coming in, he was supposed to be and it sort of fell through, and then you're like, well, maybe it was just a rookie slump, and then he wasn't great last year. Like, he wasn't terrible last year, better than garbage still, but he was not quite getting there. We were sort of like, well, and then we got onto our shiny new toy. Macklin Celebrini showed up, and he had a great rookie year, and he was a little more responsible defensively, and for whatever it's worth, he went and palled around with Sid and friends at World Championships last spring, and Bedard didn't, and you were sort of like, Bedard has worked his way out of this conversation, and now he certainly has not. Like, he's leading the league in points. At some point, they're going to notice that. I
think they absolutely will. And it's not even that he's leading the league in points. It's that it seems like he's rounded his game a little bit too. Like Jeff Blashill is putting him in situations where he's tasked with doing more than just throwing up assists.
Yep.
I think it was a couple nights ago. There was an empty net situation in Chicago, and Bedard was out there, and it wasn't just the situation where you throw a guy out there just so he can get a point, just to say, let's get the star player out there and he'll get a point, and that'll be nice for him. He earned his way out there because he had blocked some shots earlier in the game. He had back check earlier in the game. So he's starting to round into form, and I think that is because he very much wants to be a part of this team. Now, where it becomes really interesting for this team, man, is it's a fantastic problem to have. There are so many names that could theoretically make a good charge for this team. So then you almost have to work your way backwards.
For a second, man. Currently, the top 10 Canadian point getters in the league, 6 of them were not on the team last year. And so you're tossing Wyatt Johnston into the mix, and he has played big games for the Stars. John Tavares, whether you think he can still keep up or not, we'll see. But he's put himself back in the mix. Certainly Nick Suzuki. The Habs have been incredible so far this year, right? And then Celebrini and Bedard. There's a lot of... And yet, if we're talking about points, the top 6 has largely been named already, right? You're going to need some PK guys and some kind of Sam Bennett types. I could easily make the case for swapping in a Nick Suzuki for Sam Bennett, right? Are they the same player? No, but he can be responsible that way. He can penalty kill. He can take faceoffs. I'm not sure Bedard can do those things for you, right? But McKinnon, McDavid, Marner, and Point and Crosby are all already on the name. There's 5 of your top 6 spots. So I don't know what this is going to look like. Now, the Olympics also have bigger rosters. You can take an extra forward or two and a... Yeah,
I think there's going to be 8 defensemen and 14...
I think that's right.
14 forwards?
Yeah.
I think is what it's going to be.
Yeah, so I think there's... room for turnover. I'm just not sure how married they will be to the guys who got it done for them last, and not necessarily unfairly. You won the thing last year. Like, how much should you be looking to change? But Sam Bennett has not yet been what we're used to him being. I don't know whether that's. I think Konechny is as good as gone, to be honest with you. But I think so too. I think Bennett might get the benefit of the doubt after a couple of championships and whatever, that he'll find it when he needs to.
Well, then there's always guys like you mentioned. I love the idea of John Tavares making the team. I'm not married to that idea, but I love the idea mostly just because you see how hard he's working,
yes,
and how well he's playing.
Scheifele is a name I missed on this list.
Scheifele was somebody I was about to say, and then of course there's always Tom Wilson, who will always be in the conversation, whether you agree or not. He's part of the conversation. So
and he's gotten off to a nice start. Like,
yeah. He's been good.
Yeah,
he's been Tom Wilson, and hockey coaches, hockey guys love having that kind of dude on their team.
Yep.
It's just that simple, really. Like, is Bennett out? Is Seth Jarvis? He's kind of like a multi-tool player, but like, is he on the roster? I know that he's a guy that seems coaches love to coach. So
how healthy
maybe
is
John
Mark
Cooper
Stone going to be? That's always a question.
Yep.
It's a question
Yep.
right now, right? Like,
it's a hell of a problem. It's a hell of a good problem to have for the Canadian Olympic team. If I'm Team Canada, so Connor, like, there's so much skill down the middle, right? And Bedard's a center.
Yep.
Are you comfortable flipping him over to the wing and playing him in a bottom six role? Is he worth it at that point? I think that's the point that you were bringing up.
Yeah, and Braden Point was moved, like, he played both at Four Nations. So these guys, like, if Point's going to go back to playing the wing, that's where they found some magic towards the end of the Four Nations, was him on the wing with McDavid. If you're doing that, now do you need a new top six center, right? Like, I know you have McDavid and McKinnon, so obviously not top six, but, you know, Point can play in a lot of spots for you, and what you plan to do with him sort of impacts what type of guy you're looking for to potentially take that center spot or not. I don't know, man.
It's interesting. So if it's me, I'm taking him.
Both of them?
I'm taking both of them.
If you're taking both of them, do you think, and again, you versus Hockey Canada, is there any chance both can be in the lineup at the same time? Or is one of them, in the press box or whatever else? Like, can you play a 20-year-old and a 19-year-old at the Olympics, knowing what we know about hockey guys?
Yeah, hockey guys is such a great point to this. Yeah, sure, play them together. There'd just be the ultimate spark plug line all of a sudden. Like, what if you put Celebrini and Bedard on the wings, and then you put Suzuki up the middle or something like that? Just a dude, because Suzuki's such a great playmaker. Just a dude to feed those two,
and he's responsible.
And let them. And he's such a responsible two-way player. Yeah. So why not something like that? Or
sure.
Just responsible centerman betwixt the two. But like, is Bedard? It's a great question. It's just such a great question. Yeah. But I'm just so intrigued by the skill both have exhibited this season, and lifting up their teams who aren't necessarily, don't look like they have that great of rosters around them. Mm-hmm. Both teams are performing better than expectation right now. I'm leaning towards taking those guys just because of how exciting it would be. And, it's such a it might be a very prisoner of the moment argument for me, just seeing what they've done. What have you done for me lately? But we've known that they can be the future. They certainly look like the future right now. And maybe it's just pure intrigue for me, man, but like, I'm more interested in seeing those two over Travis Konechny,
sure,
Brad Marchand, Sam Bennett, like dudes like that.
It's funny, because as we sort of round this out, Hockey Canada has a bit of a mixed track record. Like, it is true they will lean conservative, but if you twist their arm, we have seen a 20-year-old Drew Doughty on the Vancouver 2010 blue line, right? They went there. In 2002, Simone Gagne made the team. I think he was 21 years old. So we have seen them try it sometimes to more. I think the difference this time, like we also saw in 2006 coming out of the lockout, they said no to Crosby, but that was his rookie year, and they had like 2 months to make a decision on him. They've at least had a year and a bit on Celebrini and 2 years and a bit on Bedard. But they have a bit of a mixed track record, and I'm not really sure what they'll do. But I'm with you. I would probably put them, if it continues this way, and you've got a couple months, I would put them both on my roster. I'm not sure I'm as brave as you to put them both in the lineup at the same time, but maybe. And, I mean, this isn't even getting into the Matthew Schaefer of it all. Do you trust a 19-year-old rookie blue liner?
Sure, yeah. He's looked fantastic.
Yeah.
What about, so when I think about rosters like this and you bringing guys like Travis Konechny, Anthony Cirelli to a degree, dudes like that, it always kind of harkened back to 1998 when like Rob Zamner made the team.
Is always everybody's go-to. Mine too, man. Yeah.
Right? Like it feels very similar to that, where it's just, you're galaxy braining. Like Shane Corson was on that roster too. Like this is how we're going to use this specific player. And it's like, okay, but like, is he the best player? Like, is he the best Canadian? Is Rom Zamner one of the best Canadian players? And they're like,
because if somebody does get hurt, all of a sudden your Rob Zamner is now moving up that, like, in this case, Mitch Marner can kill penalties. Braden Point can kill penalties. Nick Suzuki can kill penalties. Like, you don't need to take just a pure mucker to do that for you, right? Like, it used to be the way Bergeron, you play top line with Crosby, and then he'd take every defensive zone face off and kill penalties for you, right? Like, you just look for a little higher end instead of just plugging in the guy who can only do the one thing for you. And I don't know, like, I think that was the conversation we were having about Evan Bouchard at one point, and the start he's had maybe has taken him out of that. Like, do you take him to run your power play? Well, Makar's going to run power play 1, and now you don't trust Bouchard at 5-on-5, so was it worth it? Like, or do you just let Doughty or somebody run power play 2, or whoever's going to be there?
I don't bring Evan Bouchard. Or like, I don't see a role for him.
I think Cale Makar, like, if you didn't have Makar, you'd have to talk about it, but you do, and he's taking the minutes you would give to Bouchard. So you're not going to be there this time. It's
and like a 2, whatever. If you get a 2-minute. If you get 2-minute power play, like, it wouldn't shock me to see Makar play a minute 45 of that power play, and then the 15 seconds can go to like Josh Morrissey or whoever. it doesn't matter at that point.
No, it doesn't. Just before we move off the Olympics thing, man, I want to talk just about the goaltending briefly, because it's always been, well, not always. It used to be the last thing we had to worry about with there was an entire generation of us who saw nobody but like Belfour and Joseph and Brodeur and Waugh and like, we'll be fine. Like, I'm not even thinking about goaltending. That morphed into Waugh and Price and Luongo.
Price.
Yeah. And now it is a question. And sure enough, they got to the Four Nations last year, and Jordan Binnington was better than I think anybody thought he would be. And he won the thing for them. And his GM, Doug Armstrong, is running the team, and he's been terrible this year. But I don't think there's any doubt he's going. He will have earned the loyalty from Armstrong, and after winning last year, from Sean Cooper. But everybody else, Aiden Hill is hurt. Samuel Montembeault is no longer even the starter on his own team in Montreal.
Yeah, he looks terrible.
Logan Thompson was the guy that everyone looked at last year, and they apparently weren't all that interested. Darcy Kemper, along with Logan Thompson, was like, those two were 2 out of the 3 Vezina nominees by the time the season was over, and neither of them were on Team Canada. They only took 3 goalies to camp, and it wasn't an on-ice camp. It wasn't a thing this summer but it was, I think, telling that at that moment, those were still the 3 guys that they were locked in on. Is it still that for you? Like, Aiden Hill's different. I don't know when he's going to be back and what that's going to mean, but he won't have shown them much, right? Like, he won't have a lot of runway this year. I think this might be the spot where they're not as loyal as they might be to the forwards. I think there's a chance here they turn this over, and 2 out of the 3 goalies could be different.
I think so too. Binnington, like you said, is a lock. I would not surprise me to see them take Mackenzie Blackwood. Everyone seems to be quite enamored with Blackwood right now. Hill seems like the other dude that's going to be there, but I don't know. Like, I think you got to go to Logan Thompson. Yeah, he keeps doing, like, he's performed quite well for a team that doesn't necessarily look like they're that good. Even, result last season be damned. Logan, so it's for me, it feels like it's Binnington, Logan Thompson, Mackenzie Blackwood, because I feel like a lot of people are enamored with Mackenzie Blackwood, and I think he's fine, but I think it's more just I'm not enamored with anybody,
Right.
In the Canadian goaltender atmosphere. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just not sure who is the person to really step up, because it does not seem like it's Samuel Montembeault. And so Binnington, Thompson, Blackwood, Binnington starting.
I saw someone throw out the name just yesterday, Jake Allen. And like
is he doing anything right now?
I mean, I guess Markstrom's been hurt and New Jersey's been good, but to me, he's just another guy. Like, is he better than Blackwood? Is he better than Thompson or Kemper? I don't know. They're just guys. Like,
I was going to say, he seems like he hasn't stood out for that New Jersey team, but like, have any Canadian goaltenders stood out?
Well,
and maybe that's a good thing, because Jordan Binnington has stood out for trying to steal the 900th goal puck of Alex Ovechkin,
hilarious,
but also just not
move?
playing well.
Where are you on that?
Oh, huge douche move. What do you do? Mostly just because of who, like, what he's doing. And afterwards, we were just like, yeah, I was going to give it back for sure. Like, fuck you, man. No, you weren't.
A dozen cameras and 20,000 people in the building. No one's going to see me try this.
That's exactly what I wrote in a script from Martin Guyard, who read it perfectly. I said, maybe it was the tens of thousands of fans. Maybe it was the dozens of cameras, but he was spotted.
At the same time, look, I'm with you. I don't particularly like Binnington. He's throwing water bottles around. He's kind of a douche, but I really don't like Alex Ovechkin. And so if he'd have lost his puck, or at least now has gotten it back covered in some guy's hockey pants sweat, I'm fine with that outcome as well. So it was a douche move, but it was one that I was amused by. I'll say that.
No, I mean, hey, it's all in the name of entertainment, and I was entertained. That's for sure.
Look. One of the reasons I wanted to get you on here is I didn't want the corpse to get cold on the Toronto Blue Jays before we had a chance to talk about it, because I know you're as big of a baseball guy as there is out there, and you were in the city as all this was going on. And look, there's a couple different things we can dive into in a more specific sense, but just generally speaking, what did you think of the World Series? What were your thoughts here now in the days following up? Are you able to... I guess the first question, are you able to zoom out yet and go, holy crap, that was fun? Or is it still, I can't believe that's the way that finished? Because I might still be, while aware of the first one, I might still be clinging to the second one.
I will be haunted for decades by the results of what happened in the 2025 World Series. I was very understanding of fans who said, what a ride, that was a lot of fun, go Blue Jays. Mm-hmm. But I cannot relate to it, because I think, and I'm going to make this statement, and I do not mean it to sound as though I am insulting people.
Sure.
But there were a lot of bandwagon Toronto Blue Jays fans, and that is totally fine. I did not care who was rooting for the Blue Jays. Yep. Exactly. But when all those fans said, it was a lot of fun, we'll get them next year. I don't think you understand how difficult it is to win the World Series, and all of the steps that the Toronto Blue Jays had to overcome to even get to Game 7 of the World Series in the first place.
Well, and look, I'm going to let you have this, but forget what they had to overcome. How many other things went right for you? Garrett Cole ends up being hurt all year, right? And just some of Louis Castillo, when you see him in the CS, isn't what he had been in previous years. You got to Blake Snell twice. You got to Shohei Ohtani. You got to Tyler Glasnow. And it's the things you overcame as well as the things that kind of fell your way that you didn't have to overcome. It was the perfect storm, and it didn't finish.
You are absolutely preaching to the choir in this regard, because this entire season as well, every single player, perhaps aside from Vladdy, performed above expectations.
So far above.
Every single player, it felt like, had the best season of their career, whether it be George Springer, whether it be Ernie Clement, whether it be Nathan Lucas, whether it be Max Scherzer. All these dudes just happened, and Max Scherzer, of course, didn't have the best season of his career, but he had a way better outing of a season
Eric Lauer.
that you.
Who the hell was Eric Lauer
fucking Lauer
this season? Yeah,
like pitching in the KBO, whatever it was, 2 years ago or something. Like every single player played way above what they should have played to help the team reach that. And you cannot expect, realistically, that every single player will be able to do this again.
Right.
Then there's the fact that you look forward one more season where a lockout is almost assuredly going to happen.
Yeah.
The main sticking point of this coming lockout is going to be the implementation of a salary cap. The Toronto Blue Jays have an advantage when it comes to competing in Major League Baseball right now because they do have money to throw around. They are one of the higher spending franchises when it comes to player salary right now. If there is a lockout that is implemented, and if the lockout results in a salary cap being implemented, the Toronto Blue Jays lose that competitive advantage because, as we've seen, it's difficult to try and lure players to sign in Toronto. And that's not a criticism of the city. That's mostly a fact that we can ascertain from everything that we've seen up until this point,
Costs
being
you
a
an
fan.
extra $5 million a year or whatever it's going to be. Right?
Costs you an extra $5 million a year. Costs you an extra year.
Yeah.
You can look at all the contracts that we've handed out recently, particularly George Springer's the big one. You had to sign him for an extra year to get him here. Jeff Hoffman didn't even want to sign here. He went to 2 other teams first, and they both declined because of his medical history. And then all of a sudden he comes here. There's countless examples of players not signing here or taking more money to sign here or taking another year to sign here. All of a sudden the Blue Jays will lose that competitive advantage. Then Rob Manfred has said once that the CBA is all settled and everyone's happy, then they're going to look at expansion. So all of a sudden it gets even harder for the Blue Jays to get through more teams. It's likely going to be an expanded playoff, more teams in the playoff to try to take down, longer playoff to get through. It's going to be so fucking hard to get back to the World Series, to win a World Series. And the Blue Jays were right there. They were 2 outs away from winning one of the most improbable World Series that you could possibly think of. And from a fan perspective, someone who isn't a bandwagon fan, and I'm not criticizing bandwagon fans when I say this, from a true diehard, it is fucking heartbreaking and makes you want to slam your head through some drywall because you know how fucking hard it was. And we were right there.
Like, the comparison you make is good because I was a bandwagon Raptor fan in 2019, and I was thrilled when they did it. It was so much fun, but I was thrilled as much as anything for my friends who are hardcore basketball fans, and I was thrilled for the city to watch the streets fill up in the parade. I was thrilled across the country to watch all those little Jurassic Parks. Had they lost, I'd have been like, that sucks. Like, because I did invest. I did watch all the playoffs or whatever. But the next morning, all right, well, what are the Jays doing tonight or whatever? Like, it won't stay with me the way it would have had it been my team or the way this is. And you talk about, they were 2 outs away. It's to the number 9 hitter. And, like, I don't want to focus on IKF, but you were so close in that moment. The catch that Pages makes in left center field, and you're like, you were so close at the game 6. The ball gets wedged under. Like, what is happening right now? All these little things that seemed to go your way all year. It was like, by the way, the bill is due right now, and you will have everything go against you. And not in a way that they got screwed, not that baseball was out to get them or the umpires were against them or anything. It was just like, karmically speaking, all that good stuff that happened for you is about to be paid up for in the next 4 hours here in Game 7, or if you want to throw in Game 6 and 7. It turns out Yoshinobu Yamamoto is capable of just being a star every day. Like, he can just go on no day's rest and come in and destroy you. Everything about it, man, was... And so, it's like consciously level, on an intellectual level. I understand how great this season was, but emotionally, I'm still... right, like just...
Oh yeah, I had a few friends who went and the next day rewatched Game 7. I was like, I don't know how you could fucking do that.
No.
The only time the only Blue Jays content I've been able to consume is when I'm at work and I physically have to look at it to put it into the television show of which I produce. Then I leave work and I don't want to look at it again because it just I can't face that music. I hate looking at it. I hate facing it. And now I'm going to be at work when the GM meetings are happening, and I'm going to have to put through, the Blue Jays are looking at this fucking Japanese guy that I've never heard of. And they're looking at, I don't know, some other, whoever else, some fourth outfielder on the Padres might be a good depth. I'm just like, oh, this just all seems so inconsequential to what could have been, how we could have been celebrating.
It's just, I'm with you. It reminds me a little, and it's different, but it reminds me of it was 4-1 2013 in the sense that I didn't turn on, as someone who watches sports television every night, I didn't turn on Sportsnet or TSN for probably 10 days after that. I knew it was going to be everywhere. I knew it's all people were going to be talking about, highlights, replays. I didn't want to see it. And yet I've gotten so numb to, and again, I don't want to overstate it, the Leafs do this all the time now. Like they find unique ways to destroy you, but they never drag you all the way to the final first. They never force you to go that far. And at this point, while I'm still upset when they lose, I'm more pissed at them. And this is, I'm sad. Like I was sad about this. I wasn't pissed. There were so many moments where it felt like it was right there, as we've talked about, and we don't have to go through them all again. And I just, after baseball being there like it is all summer, every day, and you got the extra month, and you were so close, and I just, when it was over, like I'm not going to sit around and watch them bring out the trophy and the MVP. I'm not going to watch the Dodgers celebrate. I got up and I left the room. I was done.
I had a buddy who was at Game 7, paid an exorbitant amount of money to sit in the bleeds. And he said that he sat there and watched the Dodgers celebrate, but then as soon as Rob Manfred came out and started speaking, he was like, I got to get the fuck out of here. And he left at that point. Because it's almost one of those things where, like, when am I ever going to watch a team win the World Series again? Yeah. But it's just, you get to the point where, like, I can't do this. I can't consume this. There's also a guy at work who I wasn't at work the next day, but I was at work Game 7. It sucked. And the next day, a guy who works here came in and started going off about how what the Blue Jays need to do in the offseason with Bo and how they need to address this and that. And he promptly got told to shut up because, like, this is not the time to break down the Blue Jays offseason. Like, they need to do this with Bo. They got to make sure that they sign him long term. Yeah, here's how you set section. Not now, man. Not now.
The body's not cold yet.
No. And I'm not sure when it's going to get cold, but it's just going to be tough. And then especially just next season, knowing that there's going to be a lockout in 2027. So it makes it even sadder.
Yeah. And
very, very fun conversation to have.
Trey Savage, what a run to come all the way up. Are we ready to say that's a top of the rotation guy? Like, everybody's got sophomore struggles. We're going to have to endure that. Like, I don't know. I don't. Honestly, I look ahead and I'm like, some stuff I'm like, the Blue Jays, they could be fine next year. They could be okay. But they also could very realistically miss the playoffs. Well, you mentioned Vladdy. Like, that guy was an absolute stud in the playoffs. But he had another season where, the WRC Plus was good, but you were sort of like,
OBP was great.
I wish
got on base. He walked
there. I wish there was a little more star-studded something there, and it all showed up in the playoffs. But maybe that's just me being unrealistic. Like, can you ask somebody to give you 162 games of what he gave us in October? So,
but I mean, when you're paying somebody $400 million, $500 million, pardon me, for 14 years, you're expecting 35 home runs? Yes. Is that unrealistic?
It's not unreasonable to ask for that.
Right? So to see what he did in the playoffs, so that seems like it was otherworldly.
Yes.
Stepping up big time. Yes, he was the biggest star. He was the best player in the playoffs. And if the Blue Jays won the World Series, he's unquestionably the World Series MVP.
100%.
You need to be able to carry some of that gravitas through the regular season as well to help the team when they are slumping or nobody else is performing. You got to be the guy who always does perform. That's the expectation, at least I think, that Blue Jays fans can realistically have for Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
You're capable of this. You better do it. Like,
Exactly.
We have a right to see it now.
Like I'm not expecting you to bat 425 with an OPS of 1600, but like you need to be able, like the OPS got to be 1,000. Realistically, like,
WRC plus was like 220. Like
I know, but yeah, it's not fair. It's not fair to him. But you know what? Jays fans need more.
Well, time is not our friend here, but I do want to ask you, because similar to you, it seemed, I think it was the very next day, Shai Davidi was tweeting that, like, okay, these guys are now letting teams know that they're not picking up the options or they're opting out or whatever. And you're like, man, it moves fast. And man, the body's not cold yet. So I don't want to ask you everything that the Jays should do this winter because we have time for that. I just quickly, before we wrap up, it didn't take long for Shane Bieber to say, yeah, I'm in. And at a pretty good number, he's going to take the $16 million player option that he had. I was wondering, while we were seeing all these news reports over the first 24 hours of, Bregman opting out, there was a bunch of guys who opted out, and I think we all assumed that Bieber would be one of them, and it wasn't to say for sure he would leave, but he could make more money and he would opt out, and the Jays would have to bid on him like everybody else. And I assumed when he wasn't on that list of people who opted out, at least not right away, I was like, I wonder if they are talking and maybe we'll get an extension here a little quicker than I thought. There's no extension, but he did just take the $16 million option. In your opinion, well, first of all, were you surprised to see it? And is it because he believes, we just need a little more time than that, there will be an extension, or is he going to stay here for another year on $16 million and just see how it goes?
I was very surprised to see him accept it so fast, just knowing that he could have got more money in the open market, but from a long-term perspective for Bieber, it seems like he's looking to put together a great season, a good to great season that will guarantee him a longer deal rather than what could have been a more short-term deal anyways. He wants to, he wants a 5-6 year deal to take him to close to the end of his career, I imagine.
Sure. And
he wants to, and how are you going to get that? It's how are you going to get more money? It's by performing well. And you haven't seen him consistently perform well because he just came back from Tommy John. We've seen flashes, but can you put it all together for an entire season? You do that, you get paid a lot more. So just from that perspective, I get it, but still it was surprising to see how quickly it happened. And then you look at the Blue Jays starting rotation, you say, Gausman, Savage, Bieber, Barrios under contract if he gets healthy.
Yeah,
that's not a bad 1 through 4. And then you have a bunch of dudes fighting for number 5, whether it's Eric Lauer being the 6th guy. You bring back
Bowden Francis.
Bowden Francis. Was Ricky Tiedemann alive? Like, is he going to be able to come back?
Recovered? Yeah. See,
yeah.
The interesting thing for me about Bieber, and you may not know this about me, Mickey, is I'm not a trained kinesiologist. I did not.
Oh man, I've been telling everyone you were. That's my bad. Sorry.
But he, the common wisdom from people smarter than me seems to be around baseball that first year coming out of Tommy John, you're never quite right. Like, it's good to be back. And we heard all about it when he did come back, that sometimes the velocity comes and the control doesn't, or things like that. It's not till you have that full off season and then ramp back up that you start to see if the real guy is there again. So there's a chance that, he has an off season and he's just kind of okay all of next year, like he kind of was this year, where you said, like, he had his moments, but wasn't always super reliable at times to go deep or whatever. Or maybe the opposite thing happens, and for $16 million, you have a top of the rotation guy again for one more year, and then you can decide later on. Like, I'm sort of optimistic about this idea that give him this off season, and then you're going to find out that he gets back to what he used to be. And if that's the case, to have a guy like that at $16 million, it also allows you to go do other things this offseason. But I was really surprised, but honestly really happy to see he's built a trust with the organization. He obviously liked the team he was working with, whether it be also Pete Walker or the medical staff that helped him get back. Bodes well. I think it speaks well to the organization. You were just in the World Series. When you go out and try and sign other guys this year, it's like, look at these guys. Max Scherzer said he loved it here. Shane Bieber is staying for $16 million. And I'm not saying anyone else is taking a discount to come here, but it speaks well of your organization.
Mm-hmm. I think that the Blue Jays, the front office, Rogers, they take advantage of the sheen that is currently on the Jays franchise, and they go out and try and land a couple big fishes. And that big fish could be Bo Bichette. could be running it back with him.
Sure.
But it's such an interesting question with Bichette. His defense is obviously very suspect. Everyone's always looked and said he doesn't project at shortstop long term. Mm-hmm. Anyone who looked at the Jays during the offseason, they all commentators from the outside media that covers the Jays on a daily basis said, "Oh, the Jays defense is better when Bo Bichette isn't in the lineup." It's like, yes, we're aware. So you look at...
Well, and the second that Jimenez trade was made was like, is that Bo insurance that whether he's staying or not, you have a shortstop ready to rock, right? Like
it's interesting but then like if Bo signs, you keep Jimenez at second or at short and move Bo to second, but then where's Ernie Clement going?
Right.
If you're projecting Ernie Clement with the franchise for a long time, and who knows what happens with Ernie next year? Maybe, he could very, very, very realistically fall way back down to earth and just be a dude that isn't setting a record for hit streaks in a playoffs or whatever. Like, all of a sudden you have to really wonder, like, is Addison Barger moved to third, but then like, is Ernie over at third? So you got to put Barger in right, but then all of a sudden all the DH spots are taken up because you have Santander and George Springer cycling through that. It's bringing Bo back is very, very intriguing.
It is.
I'm not sure where they're leaning, what they're going to do, but I imagine that because of the run that they just went on, the Jays are going to be more inclined to try and run it back with everybody.
Yeah, the vibes. Ride the vibes, I think, is what they may end up leaning into here. We'll see. Time is not our friend, as I mentioned. You are at work.
Yeah,
I have
sorry,
to
buddy.
actually let you go and do some of that work. I will encourage the good listener to stick around after the break. I've got some things to say about the Lansdowne 2.0 argument around what's going on with the PWHL charge.
Oh, the PWHL charge.
Yeah, we won't ask Kevin Michie to weigh in on Ottawa City Council issues and whatever else. But.
Well, here's what I'll say. I really hope that the Charge stay in Ottawa because I know that the fan base fucking loves them there. So I hope that they find a viable long-term solution to keep the team in Ottawa because it'd be ashamed to have to move a franchise so early in the start of the league. So I really hope that things work out for the Charge. And also, one more point on the PWHL that'll sneak in there. I love the name, the Vancouver Golden Eyes. What a team name. Absolutely love it.
I want all the N64 sound effects built into the game ops.
They're between whistle sounds. They're between period sounds. Just better be the pause menu sound. And that's it.
Man.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Not to spoil what's coming up in the second half, but they're not leaving. This is Pro Sports 101. Saber rattling about new arenas. It's if you're new here, maybe you're a little upset about it. Otherwise, we'll see. But Kevin Michie, man, I appreciate you taking the time on the company dime, especially.
Hell yeah, brother. Always happy to do it. Anything for you, Matty.
That's Kevin Michie from Sportsnet.
Mrs. Kerbapo, why don't you begin?
Boo!
Oh, boo yourself. Our demands are simple. A small cost of living increase and some better equipment and supplies for your children.
Oh, that's reasonable. Give it to him.
Yeah, in a dream world, we have a very tight budget to do what she's asking. We'd have to raise taxes.
Raise way too high as they are. Taxes are bad.
It's your children's future.
Children are important. Yes.
It'll cost you.
Go to taxes. Right. It's not going to raise taxes.
Come on.
All right, that's a good point. It's good. Yes. Yeah, the taxes. The finger thing means the taxes.
Well, I guess this is a case where we'll have to agree to disagree.
I don't agree to that.
Neither do I.
All right, thanks to Kevin Michie. They're segment 2 here, and honestly, I wanted to let him go. Wanted to let him off the hook before we get into this because I have a feeling. Well, it's not even that I have a feeling; it's that I'm quite certain this is not going to land well for everybody. Some of you are going to hate this. Some of you are going to love this. I don't know if anybody's going to love this. I might be overstating it, but some of you will tolerate it better than others. I want to talk about what's gone on around Lansdowne 2.0, the Ottawa Charge, and the way this debate has played out. Because the way this debate has played out has been garbage. And that's more the fault of the fan base versus the people who don't support the team. Look, it's Twitter, it's people who don't cover sports at all suddenly covering sports in the Citizen or the Sun. It's people who cover sports now weighing in on taxpayer issues. It's people who cover taxpayer issues now covering sports. And it's everybody shouting over everyone. And it sucked. I've hated every minute of the debate. It's been almost impossible to have a reasonable debate. So I'm going to do that now in the only way that I think I can do it. That's by having it with myself. Nobody's going to interrupt me here. I get to spew all my points, and you can sit there for as long as you would like to and agree or disagree. And look, there'll be plenty of stuff to disagree on, but there are certain things that are facts and certain things that are debate points that are worth having opinions on. And until we understand the difference between the two, it's going to be hard to have the debate. So I'm just going to have it with myself. And because this is a bit of a sensitive issue, and because Kevin Michie has his own career to worry about and doesn't need to be dragged down into whatever this may turn into, I saved it. And look, the guy lives in Toronto. He's not going to be overly tied into Lansdowne 2.0 and city council issues and everything that goes along with that. So it was just easier to cover everything else and then do this part on my own. And to keep things reasonable, rational, I am going to have a second pint here like I often would on the Monday show on the second half. But this is going to be a little on the lighter side. This is called Into the Mystic from Lake of Bays. It was part of their 15th anniversary pack. We say thanks once more to our friend Angela Thompson. And I believe if I've got this right, yeah, it's a dry hopped lager. Checking in at around 4.5%. No 7%, no 8%. Let's not pour fuel on the fire as I head down a road that maybe I shouldn't head down. Look, when it comes to the intersection of taxpayer issues, civic issues, government, city council issues, versus professional sports versus gender equality, I'm prepared to accept many different perspectives, many different opinions, because these are complicated issues and there's a pile of context that goes into it. I personally don't like seeing taxpayer money funneled into pro sports in any way. I think these owners should always be building their own buildings, but that ship has sailed. That's not really part of the equation here. I guess it depends on what you define the OHL and the Ottawa 67s as. But the OHL now is a money-making endeavor. And so it gets lobbed in here into the pro sports side of things. But like I said, if you don't think any money should have been spent on more sporting infrastructure that's taxpayer money, I think that's a reasonable enough opinion, and you can have an opinion on that, and I can have an opinion on that, and we can debate that. That's a debatable area. It's not a statistic. It's not a hard number. It's not a plan. It's not something that's written down on paper. It's a take, and that's fine. And all of these issues have that. What is discriminatory towards women's sports? What is favoring men's sports? How much is too much to spend? How much is too little to spend on this sort of infrastructure? And like I said, I'm bringing this up and I'm laying it out this way to suggest once more, I have the capacity, and I think a lot of people do. Maybe not in the way we're doing it right now, especially online, but I think a lot of us have the capacity to accept many different views on how an issue could play out. And that's why this takes so long. And that's why there is so much public input and private input and so many meetings and so many. You have to hear as many people as you can. But what I am not prepared to accept is this concept that if you supported the city going along with Lansdowne 2.0 as it stands now, at 6,100 or 6,600, there's some numbers being thrown around which seats are going to be, well, not seats, standing room only, that capacity is going to hang out at around 6,600 or 6,100, and you thought that was fine, and you're screaming or all caps tweeting at people who said this is completely wrong, you're discriminating against the PWHL, you're killing the franchise in the city, and you're not giving them a chance to voice their side of it, you're wrong. That's not how you have a constructive debate. Conversely, because this is happening to people and people who do support women's sports, if you're on the side that says this is gross, you've seen what the PWHL can do in Ottawa, and you're now limiting it. You're putting a cap on it, and it's all so that, we're going to build it to the perfect size for the men, which would be the 67s, and you're screwing over the women. And anyone who has a counter-argument to that or who wants to debate the issue, you immediately throw down the gauntlet of you don't support women. That's wrong. That is not okay. And I was talking to somebody online earlier, and we were sort of kicking this issue around and how fraught it's become. And actually, I had replied to one of their tweets and said, you know what? Nope, this is not the place for this debate. Because I'm going to talk to this guy, and I know he's reasonable, and we can go back and forth, and maybe we'll agree or maybe we'll disagree, but it is going to be filled in a minute with nonsense. So I deleted my replies and private messaged him. And one of the things I said to him that was so frustrating about this is you almost feel like you have to present your resume before weighing in. So, as a grown-ass dude who thinks it's fine that Lansdowne 2.0 is going away or going on as is, to defend myself before I give that opinion, I've got to lay out all the other previous times I have supported women in sports, time I've given to women in sports, people I've had on this show, all that sort of crap, and I'm not doing it. I'm not going to sit here for you today and say all the reasons why I've supported women's sports and that makes this time okay for me to criticize that side. Because that's stupid. Because even if none of those things were true about me, I'd still be entitled to an opinion. I just wouldn't be entitled to scream it at you or all caps it at you or tell you why your side is just flat out wrong and you're an idiot. So let's start here. This league is owned by a billionaire. And one that at the moment I don't particularly like because he also owns the Dodgers and, fuck them. If he wanted to, he could do a study in each of his markets and say, this is the Goldilocks size rink for my teams in those markets, and he could build it himself. Is that likely to happen? No. Is it even reasonable to ask him to do it, to build another arena in each of these markets on his own, find the property, sign whatever? No, it's probably not. But that doesn't mean he couldn't do it. If he's unhappy with the way his teams are being treated and his league is being treated, he could give them each a palace. And in Ottawa, if that means 9,500 or whatever you think the capacity should be, he could do it. They haven't started building shit at LeBreton yet. Maybe he could swoop in and steal that property. It's going to be sweet. Maybe he could go to any of the other properties that were talked about before LeBreton was settled on for the Sens. He could do that in every market. And now, you don't have to negotiate with anybody. You can do whatever you want. Modern amenities, perfect amount of seating. And you don't have to negotiate with city-owned buildings and other organizations who are going to actually own their, I think in Toronto they're now at Ricoh, so you're sort of second tenant behind the Marlies and the different venues they're going to play in across the league. You could do that. And so I'm a little frustrated by the fact that no one, everybody loves to kick around the billionaires. It's the easiest thing in the world to do right now. Why are we not doing it here? Why is it suddenly city councilors just trying to do their job and trying to understand and trying to be financially responsible with taxpayer money? Because for everyone out there who wants to fight about whether men's sports is more important or women's sports is more important or they're on the same level, there is an entire city out there, a huge percentage of which that doesn't think either is important and doesn't want to see their money spent at all. This guy wants to own a league. He can build it. There, done. Issue resolved. But instead, we're going to scream at the city councilors and the mayor and whatever. And I get it. Politicians are easy to scream at too, just like billionaires. And so I'm not necessarily suggesting that that's what this guy should have done, but let's not ignore the possibility, or let's not ignore the fact that that's on the table. We could turn our attention to him and say, hey, how about you help out here a little bit? Or instead of, hey, the taxpayers should throw up an extra however many pile of millions on top of what's already being built at TD Place, ask this guy, tell him, we don't want you to build a whole arena. That's too much to ask. But maybe you throw in those couple of million to top it up, get a little higher attendance. How about some goodwill in this market? And that is something you could discuss with a team's individual owner if this league had a different format. And we have talked about this before, and maybe this isn't the right path to be going down right now. But as long as you have this centralized ownership, one guy owns the entire league, then there is no accountability to the city. And we talked about that previously with player personnel moves. Who's pulling the strings here? Why does it look like the Toronto team is getting to rip out the best players from Ottawa? If we had a local owner, there would be somebody we could ask that question to. Was this a one-off, or are we going to be a feeder to the Toronto Scepters? But we don't have that. And so when you deal with an issue like this, and to kick it one more stone down the road, let's say that the city had agreed and said, you know what, you're right. We are going to make this arena 8,500 seats so that the Charge are properly accommodated, as is their fan base, and we're going to do the right thing here. The moment, the second that this league determines that the demand every night for PWHL hockey is 8,510, they're gone. They will be at the brand spanking new Sens building that's going to be up within 5 years, 6 years, whatever it is. They will ride out this lease, sign another one until they can bridge the gap. I doubt they'd go out to CTC. I don't know. Maybe they would in the meantime. But there is no long-term agreement here. There is no long-term lease here. And there is no local businessman who owns the team that you can go, do we trust this guy? Okay, we're going to do this for you. We need like a 25-year lease. We need you to commit to us as much as we're committing to you. You don't have that. You've got some one big organization in the sky pulling the strings for the whole thing. And the moment that 8,500 is not enough at TD Place, they will be in the new Sens building selling 8,510 or 9,000 or 11,000 or whatever. And you know what? As fans, as people who support the PWHL, that's what we should want. We should hope that within 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, they've long outgrown 8,000 people. And they'll have to strike a deal with the Sens and be in the new building. This is not the other point here that drives me crazy is this idea that, you know, now that it's a chance to squeeze the women, like it was somehow intentional. Lansdowne 2.0, how long in the city have we been hearing about this? It feels like it's been as long as, remember how long in the fucking Ottawa Senators games they were constantly talking about the new Raceway Casino? It was like a decade. I swear I was watching the same commercial for years and years and years and years. This stuff takes a long time. So the layout, the plans, what could we do at 2.0 predates the arrival of the PWHL and certainly predates the success of the PWHL. So to say that this is somehow like they started the process, they've seen how successful the PWHL is and went, yeah, we don't care about that, screw that, we're going to cut them off at the knees. That's not what happened. They had already started down this road. Could they have adjusted it? That's, again, an opinion. That is something worth debating. But the timeline, that isn't. That's fact. That's in stone. You can go back and read article after article after article about that and how long ago that started. And it was before we saw the PWHL boom. So I'm done with the argument. Like, I'm done with this bad faith argument that says, you know, you knew this when you divided it. Like, you knew this when you were drawing this up. You knew the PWHL was more successful than that, and you undercut us anyway. That's not what happened. We're not having that conversation because there is a pile of evidence that already tells you that's not what happened. Again, once you saw how successful it was, could you have gone back to the drawing board? Yep. Should you have? Maybe. That's a debate we can have. Like, those are reasonable questions. But the bad faith argument about, oh, you're out to get women's sports? No, we're not doing that. It's nonsense. And to watch the PWHL now saber rattling about leaving town because this will not be financially viable is nonsense. Our friend AJ has called it ludicrous. And that's a fun word, but I don't want to take his word. He's got ludicrous. I'm going to call it nonsense. It's not as fun as his, but I don't want to step on his toes. He's got seniority here. Let's keep in mind that when this team came, it was knowing what the size was, knowing what typical attendance for the 67s was, and knowing what typical capacity was. And when I say typical capacity, let's remember when they put home opener tickets on sale to the public for that first game, January 2nd of 2024, for the inaugural Ottawa Charge game. It was not with all the curtains pulled down and the full 8,500, 9,000. They did not expect to need that, which means they hadn't budgeted for that. And it was great. Man, tickets went fast. Better open up another 500 seats. Those are gone. Open up another 500 seats. Those are gone. Max it out. Let's go. That was all awesome. It shows what a dedicated market this was, how excited people were, what a great product people assumed this was going to be, and that it has been. But they came in expecting less. And so to turn around now, as attendance did dip in year 2, and it was probably always going to, it didn't dip as far as what this new building is supposed to hold. Like, let's be fair on all points. It went down, but not as far down as what is going to be built in 2.0. So they would still be above that number. And it partially went down due to supply and demand. There were a lot more games in year 2 than there were in year 1. So you have the novelty factor. In the first year, everyone's excited, everyone wants to go, everyone wants to be there, and some people don't go back. It's not that they'll never go back. It's that I've seen it, I've done it, you know, that kind of, I've checked that box. The novelty, like any sports team and like any other thing in your life, once it stops being special, you know. So the novelty wore off a little, and in year 2, there were a lot more games available, and there were some more weeknights, which are tougher on people. And so attendance went down a little. That's fine. But are we married to the fact that it's immediately going to jump back up? And if it does, can you tell me that they'll stay when there's a shiny new building 7 minutes away at LeBreton Flats that will have room for more fans? As I said, the moment they decide that 8,500 allows us to make enough money, but we could be selling 8,600 down the street, they'll be gone. They won't renew their lease, and now you, the taxpayer, are left being the one to pay for it. And it won't have been worth it. The 67s don't need that many seats. The problem here is that OSEG and the city don't own this league. And there is no local owner that will commit to you 25, 30 years. Yes, if you do this, not only will we stay, but you'll also make money. Because the city's not making an extra dime off this. OSEG's not making an extra dime off this. They're paying for it. But it's a separate league. It's a separate entity. As I said at the beginning, I have time for a lot of different opinions. I just hate the way this argument has played out. There's so many bad faith. As soon as you go, oh man, it's a lot of money to put in 2,000 more seats. Well, it wouldn't have been if it was a man's sport. How many 10,000 seat arenas can a city this size support? No one's decided yet what's going to happen to CTC once the Sens move. They're building another 17,000 seat stadium at LeBreton. You're going to have this one, I guess, at 10 or 11,000 seat if the PWHL gets its way. And you got Slush Puppy right across the fucking river. This is not that big of a community. How many arenas at that size can you support? So listen, I know how this has come off, but I love the PWHL. I will be at games this year. I'll continue to go to games as the new arena is being built. I'll continue to go to games once they're into the new one, and I will continue to happily go to games when they eventually do outgrow it and move to the bigger barn at LeBreton like we're all hoping should happen. But to throw shit at people to say, if you disagree with me, you must hate women's sports, I got no time for that. I'm not having that conversation with you. If the league is now going to stand up and say, well, then we might leave, I got no time for that. You just gutted this team with expansion. You just had to have that done right away. We're going to leave. You're not going to leave. It's one of your hottest markets, and we are a very short time away from there being a brand new building that will allow you the space to grow and expand like we all believe that it will. Do not threaten me. You want me to care more? You want me to believe that this league really cares about Ottawa? Let's get some individual owners in all these markets, a guy that will look me in the eye and say to me, if you give us these extra 2,000 seats, I will commit to you for 30 years. We're staying right there at TD. Barring that, the city had no assurances. The city had no choice. The one thing that I do find upsetting that the PWHL has said was that they were promised, we need your support right now to get this thing passed, along with the 67s, and along with the Red Blacks. Like, we need to get out there and pound the pavement and really get people on side with 2.0, and we'll figure out the attendance thing. And apparently those meetings did not happen. They were not brought back in to consult, to present their case, and that's shit. You cannot lie to people. You cannot use people. You cannot have them come out there and help you to shoot them in the foot. If the PWHL knew from the beginning, which they didn't, but that knew 2.0 was going to squeeze them, they would not have helped you rally support for this thing. And that's wrong. That should not have happened. That's a shitty way to treat a partner. So I hated hearing that. But I hate hearing, well, then we might leave. You're not going to leave. Where are you going? Winnipeg, Edmonton, Buffalo? You're going to be in NHL-sized buildings. If Lansdowne is too small, then you can be in an NHL-sized building here where you already know you have tremendous fan support. Until then, stop threatening me. Pro sports nonsense 101. Like I said, I can't take ludicrous. Nonsense. How many owners in how many different sports have said, if you don't build me this new arena, we're leaving? Well, at least that guy's usually there in the market. It's not one giant umbrella with one tentacle in your market. You want a new building so bad that fits your standards so bad? You build it. He's got the money. Build it 9,500 seats, and then what happens when the game does outgrow it? And you should be in a 10 or 11,000 seat building, and now you're stuck. You've capped yourself. Why ask the city to take that risk if you won't? I didn't like any of this argument. And as I said, I don't expect a lot of you are even still here or will have enjoyed my take on it. Maybe I'm a little over the top. Maybe I'm being too hard on it. But half my reasoning here is that I believe within 3 years, 5 years, 8 years, whatever it's going to take, 8,500 ain't going to be enough anyway. You're going to have to make that move at some point. So why have the taxpayer build you a bigger building and spend that money on something you're not committed to long term? There's 3 years left on this deal, at the end of which they will either have to turn around and talk to Slush Puppy or talk to the Sens about the CTC to bridge the gap until the new building is built, or they'll have to ride it out where they are until the new building is built. But short of them saying we would have stayed 25, 30 years and capping themselves at 8,500, which would have, quite frankly, also been foolish, there was no other choice. This was a bad situation. It put a lot of people in a bad situation themselves, including the team. Like, I don't know. Let's see. Because last year attendance did drop, and I'm not predicting it will continue to drop, but they were not averaging 8,500 a night. They would sometimes get 8,000 or 8,500, and it was nice to have that, but that was not the average. That was not what they were drawing constantly. So does it even out closer to 6,000, 6,500, 7,000? What happens if this team is as bad as it might be? The guts of this thing were just torn out this summer through this expansion process. Ottawa is not that different than most cities. If a team is bad, people are not going. So maybe if you wanted to continue to see this thing grow at the pace that it had been, you don't expand as fast as you did. You allow people to fall in love with the players that they had gotten to know. Danielle Serdachny was going to be here. Haley Skamura, Daryl Watts ends up in Toronto. Like, that wasn't expansion related, but the amount of turnover this fast has made it hard to fall in love with players. You fall in love with your team. And certainly there are stars on each of these teams that you do love. But man, the turnover has been hard on fans. I've said it 100 times on this show. I got a jersey for Christmas last year. I didn't get around to putting a name on it as fast as I wanted. It would have been Serdachny. A first-round pick, going to be the heart of the franchise, going to be here forever. Psh, gone. Within 7 or 8 months, gone. We'll see what attendance is going to look like this year. I think in the long term, women's hockey in the nation's capital will outgrow TD, but I think that was going to happen at 8,000 or at 6,000. I'm not sure how fast it's going to happen if you continue to rip the guts out of these teams for expansion purposes. And we are already hearing about the possibility of more expansion. I don't know if that's too fast or not. Again, that's another debatable point. That's not a hard and fast stat or a hard and fast number. There's a number of different valid opinions on what's too fast for expanding and how quickly you should get in as many markets as you could versus what that does to the fans you already have. We can have those debates. But it has not been a good summer if you were an Ottawa Charge fan. So, as I said, I have my opinions. You've heard a lot of them here. Not all of those are fact. A lot of it is just that. It is just opinion. What has bugged me through this process is the disingenuous, intentional twisting of things that are facts, things that are carved in stone, in order to make other people feel bad. Or more importantly, to make other people look bad. Like, if you don't agree with me on this, you hate women's sports. Get lost. This was a tough situation. It was a process that started before the team arrived. The team did get screwed a little bit on consultation. I won't take that away from them. That's a fact. But even had they had that consultation, I think it's a tough sell to think. And there are people that'll tell you, well, it also for comedy events and concerts and stuff. Maybe you would have wanted the extra 2,000 seats. I'm sure they thought of that. You've got the new thing, finally, after 10 years of commercials. You've got the Ottawa Raceway and Casino and whatever as a concert venue. You've got TD. You've got the football stadium outside. You've got Slush Puppy. You're about to have something new at LeBreton. How many different size concert venues do you think we need around here? This is not that big of a city. So this was hard. That's my point. I have no beef with anyone who looked at the facts and said, no, I really think 10,000 would have been better. That's fine. You're entitled to that opinion. You're not entitled to tell me that my opinion is wrong simply because I guess I hate women. It's not what happened. So I've hated this debate. I saw AJ Jackiebeck. There was a tweet as I wrap up here. Guy has been to just about every sporting event you can imagine on earth. Women's and men's, domestic, international, professional, amateur. And somebody's given him shit because he called the PWHL out on the exact same nonsense. You're not leaving. Get lost with that. And the guy said, well, I guess you just think fuck women's sports. And he's like, are you kidding me, man? I'm at these Rapid games. I'm at the PWHL games. I paid more money than anything else when he went to the Olympics on Summer Macintosh events. We have to be able to have these discussions. And they can't just be blanketed in ignorance. Just blanketed in, if you disagree with me, you must be prejudiced somehow. And that stuff is happening in both directions. And I guess the reason I'm so fired up about it now is because as someone who does support women's sports, I'm not going to let some asshole tell me I don't just because I disagree with him on how these taxpayer dollars should have been spent. As I said at the very beginning of this segment, I think the number of dollars that should be given to professional sports of any kind, women or men, $0. That ship has sailed. That's not what's going to happen. But I don't believe, as much as I disagree with this city council on a bunch of things, as much as I really disagree with this mayor on a bunch of things, this was not an attempt to set out and screw over the women. Be real and grow up. Like I said, you can hate it. You can disagree with it, with the number that they landed on. But if you're sitting there thinking they saw a chance to screw over the women's game and perfectly cater to the men's game, that's foolish. And to be clear, OSEG is going to be there for a very long time. They are committed. So what does their team need is relevant. What the women's team needs is relevant, but it would be more relevant if this league and its billionaire owner would have sent a letter himself saying, do this, and we're in for 25 years. Short of that, the city didn't have a whole lot of options because they know what I know and what I just told you earlier. The second that guy can make one more dollar in the new Sens barn, he's gone. And he does not care about the money that the taxpayer has invested in a bigger TD place. He will be gone. So the city did what they had to do to protect themselves. That's my opinion. And that's all it is. I'll probably be dodging my Twitter notifications on Monday morning, which I should be doing anyway, really. Thanks for hearing me out. And I'll probably see you around TD Place this year at the games. Because contrary to what I'm about to be painted as by some people, I still like the team. I still like the league. I'm still cheering for its success. And I'm not just cheering for, but I am also predicting they will outgrow TD Place at any size by the time the Sens barn is ready, and you'll see them at LeBreton Flats with the Ottawa Senators. Michael Landlauer has already indicated that he would be open to that. I think the league is going to grow at that pace, and it is my opinion that will be the eventual outcome, and all of this will have been long forgotten. That's where we'll wrap it up today. Don't forget, Cheryl Pounder in studio on Wednesday. Be curious to get her take on this. We'll see what that's going to look like. I guess I should be more clear. She's in studio on Wednesday, which means it will drop for you on Thursday morning. Just the way our podcast scheduling works. But I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed this. Thanks once more to Kevin Michie from Sportsnet. And we'll talk to you later in the week.
I've got nothing here. You're giving me baseball and hockey, and I got my keister blowing in the wind. That made to look like a fool here. That's just dumb. I don't want anything to do with this place. This place is run by a bunch of children.